such riches for years.
We came across a richly furnished provision and kitting out depot which the British had abandoned. Joyously, we rushed for the provisions. There was the thick brown beer which we had done without so long and which cooled our parched throats. We were desperately in need of good food, so much in fact that we forgot about the enemy.
Suddenly they realized what paupers the Germans had become, how little the British had been injured by 4 years of war.
You know that the German army and the German doctors didn't have any bandages? What we used was crepe paper to wind round the wounds of the soldiers. And one can imagine how long that lasted. They just dissolved as quickly as many of the great coats our soldiers had to wear.
The proud German army looted British depots like peasants in a palace. On March the 28th,
today the advance of our infantry suddenly stopped near Albert. Nobody could understand why. Our airmen had reported no enemy between Albert and Amiens. I jumped into a car with orders to find out what was causing the stoppage. As soon as I got near Albert, I began to see strange sights. Men dressed up in comic disguise. Men with top hats on their heads. Men who could hardly walk. The advance was held up, and there was no means of getting it going again for hours.
That our troops did not achieve all the success that was possible was due above all to their not always being under the firm control of their officers. They had been checked by finding food depots, and valuable time had thus been lost.
The Germans grew weaker. The Allies grew stronger. Since March the 25th, a French army of 7 divisions had entered the line, and another was marching up fast.
There was a whole fleet of trucks sent to carry off the entire division. There could no longer be any doubt we were about to go to battle. Our life was a constant turmoil for the next 2 days. We were going day and night, halting and then moving on again shortly after halting.
Haig had drained the rest of the British front to bar the road to Amiens. By the end of March, the great retreat was over.
We got to Ham eventually. That was the biggest town there was there, outside St. Quentin. When we got into there, nobody knew anybody. There was no such thing as a battalion. You had a nondescript pile of all sorts of regiments. Bits and pieces, anybody at all. Sanitary people, cooks, everybody. They were all in it.
April the 5th. Disappointment in German hearts, weariness in German bodies. They strove for the last time to break through. They failed. The imperial battle was over. Hindenburg and Ludendorff gave orders for another offensive against the weakened British in Flanders, where the British line ran close to the sea and Haig dared not give ground. April the 9th, 1918. 3 hours of bombardment, so terrible that it drove men out of their minds. Then the attack. Only half the number of men of March the 21st. Only half the width of front. But the German storm groups struck not British defenders, but raw Portuguese. They broke. Once again, the Allies trod the humiliating road of defeat. There seemed to be nothing to stop the Germans from reaching the sea.
We reached a village called Esters. When we reached it, it was like the Bank of England on a very busy morning, the Mansion House or Staines Bridge on a Sunday afternoon. hundreds of vehicles and nothing moving at all. One of the drivers behind me was, in one of the wagons behind me, was crying because we expected to be taken prisoners. The Germans were coming on. You could almost feel their batteries leapfrogging forward.
Haig had very few reserves. They had been sent to the Amiens front. One thing stood between him and catastrophe, the fighting spirit of the British soldier. Censorship reports on soldiers' letters home revealed the effect of the retreat on the morale of the army.
No one ever believes we're winning. The Germans have gained more in a month than we've gained in 1.5 years.
There are a good many out here like myself, fed up, and don't care a damn which side wins.
I'm surprised to hear you've joined the Women's Land Army. Do you realize, Maggie, you're helping to prolong the war? What does it matter whether we win or not? We shall never get it over so long as the women and girls keep relieving men for the army. Only when there are no men left will the war finish. That's the way the lads out here look at it.
The men's nerves are gone, and not one man has any stomach for this game.
In an order of the day, Haig appealed to the doggedness of the British soldier.
There is no other course open to us but to fight it out. Every position must be held to the last man. There must be no retirement. With our backs to the wall and believing in the justice of our cause, each one of us must fight on to the end.
The British fought it out. By the end of April, the Germans were again brought to a standstill. The greatest of all attempts since 1914 to win the war by purely military victory had failed. The very size of the imperial battle had doomed it. It could not be nourished, despite Ludendorff's ruthless mobilization of every horse and lorry and wagon. The German failure cost 350,000 out of their last reserves of men. Men were the fuel of war. As the manpower of Europe became exhausted, the war began to burn itself out, like a forest fire starved by its own appetite. Only America could pour fresh fuel into the diminishing flames. Since March the 21st, nearly 200,000 Americans had landed in France. Germany's chances of snatching victory dwindled with every tick of the clock. Ludendorff was forced to stake Germany's waning power on another gamble. With desperation in his heart, Ludendorff swung his armies south.